From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, the Adolphus Wabara's-led PDP BOT rejects the court ruling nullifying the 2025 convention, while the Mao Ohabwa BOT calls for calm, reflection, institutional memory, and upholding party constitutional values. House of Representatives amends the Electoral Act 2026, criminalizing dual political party membership, imposing 10 million naira fine, a 2-year prison term, or both for violators. Senate confirms Professor Taiwo Oyedele as Minister of State for Finance under President Bola Tinubu, replacing Mrs. Doris Uzokanite as he assumed responsibilities in the federal cabinet. And the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Pati, says Nigeria's health sector reforms under the sector-wide approach are showing promise, describing progress so far as unprecedented.
On business, Nigeria's merchandise trade surplus declines sharply in Q4 2025, dropping to 1.71 trillion naira from 3.42 trillion naira recorded in the same quarter of 2024.
On sports news tonight, Nigeria's The Tigers delivered dominant performance over Colombia in their opening game at the FIBA Basketball World Cup qualifying tournament in France.
And from Abuja, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike pledges to collaborate with the chairman of Gwagwalada Area Council on Infrastructure, insisting politics relies on agreements.
The People's Democratic Party's Board of Trustees, led by former President of the Senate, Adolphus Wabara, has rejected the appeal court judgment that invalidated the Ibadan Convention. The group also set up a reconciliation committee to interface with the Abdurrahman Mohammed-led caretaker committee. According to him, the board is waiting for the professional advice of their legal team to decide if they will appeal the judgment. Meanwhile, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, has given the conditions to reconcile with the Turaki-led group of the party. While speaking during the 106th National Executive Council meeting in Abuja, Mr. Wike stated that both sides must meet and agree on the terms of the reconciliation. Out in the National Assembly, the House of Representatives has passed an amendment to the Electoral Act on dual membership of political parties. This amendment bill proposes a fine of up to 10 million naira or a jail term of 2 years upon conviction. Meanwhile, the House is urging the federal government to rescind the blanket invalidation of degree certificates obtained from the republics of Benin and Togo. Our National Assembly correspondent Terry Kumi reports.
Resumes fully in the House of Representatives, albeit with a nearly empty chamber. The House then turns its attention to consideration of reports shared by the Deputy Speaker and considers a report for a bill to amend the Electoral Act to prohibit dual party membership.
You are talking about e-registration.
Some lawmakers argue against the provision, which they fear could be used by their opponents against them.
I'm a PDP member today, but yesterday, the chairman of APC said he has sent me a registration card. ADC have sent me one as well. And I didn't ask anyone to do for me.
APC has sent you one?
See, the issue is they can use that, maybe, probably, and take it to court.
It boils down to law of evidence. And which aspect of evidence, what is admissible? Your communication, letter of communication to the party will become evidential. When you communicated, become evidential. When they receive it, becomes evidential. That will guide you in your defense.
Where the commission detects that a person is registered in more than one political party, the commission shall notify the affected political party. The individual shall, within 14 days, elect in writing one political party to retain membership. Because we must guarantee the freedom of association.
The ayes have it.
The bill eventually passes. It proposes a fine of up to 10 million naira or jail term of 2 years upon conviction, and that a person who is found to have registered with more than one political party shall not be recognized as a member of any of the political parties.
Action with the Federal Minister of Education.
Another report up for consideration is on the federal government's ban on recognition of university degrees from Benin Republic and Togo.
A lot of thousands of our young people are being affected. Some have lost their jobs. Some are being asked to stop until this decision is making. And this committee even have to write several ministries to say, look, this matter is before the House. Wait for the decision of the House before you take any action.
The report is adopted as the House urges the federal government to align its future policy with Nigeria's bilateral, regional, and international treaty obligations. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the Senate has confirmed the appointment of Professor Taiwo Oyedele as Minister-designate under the administration of President Bola Tinubu. The President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, announced the confirmation after lawmakers cleared the nominee through a voice vote during the Committee of the Whole. Professor Oyedele is expected to replace Mrs. Doris Uzoka-Anite as Minister of State for Finance. Our National Assembly correspondent, Gloria Mezoke, reports.
The upper chamber is packed on the second day of plenary, the majority wing bearing the weight as 3 more defections from Adamawa and Zamfara states are announced by the President of the Senate.
Mr. President.
A matter of urgent national importance is raised by the Senate's chief whip on the deadly attack on a military formation in Kukawa local government area of Borno State.
Worried that the attack resulted in the death of Lieutenant Colonel Umar Farouk, who was instrumental to the return of the people of Kukawa town after it was ransacked by insurgents alongside other gallant soldiers.
All the Nigerian armed forces to intensify ongoing counter-insurgency operations by strengthening intelligence gathering to bring in an end to insecurity in the entire Northeast region.
Moments after.
Thank you very much.
Indeed, I'm 100% Nigerian. I went to a primary school in the village called Ikaramakoko.
A barrage of questions began to emerge.
Under your leadership, are considering the effort we invested in tax reform and prayerfully in tax collection. You must also ensure that the use of that money should be used for a minister to go and live in Washington, to go and live in London. Everything our ministers must attend. How many foreign ministers come to Nigeria?
I do agree we can be more efficient. One thing I've observed myself is that we have not truly implemented a zero-based budgeting. So we just build on inefficiency. If we can be more deliberate in saying this is the budget, this is the revenue, beyond the revenue, this is the cash planning. And based on the cash, if you know the cash won't come on time and you're unable to borrow, then don't start the project.
He is subsequently asked to take a bow and leave.
The nomination of Mr. Taiwo Oyedele as the Minister of the Government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is hereby confirmed.
Now, earlier, the Senate passed through second reading the 2.2 trillion naira FCT appropriation bill through second reading. The bill has now been referred to the Senate Committee on FCT and area councils to revert back in 1 week. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezoke, Channels Television News.
There's no doubt the Iran war has caught the attention of the world as uncertainty grows over what will be the eventual outcome in the end. Here in Nigeria, the federal government says it is closely monitoring the escalating tensions in the Middle East in order to safeguard the country's economy from potential global shocks. A Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, disclosed this on our political program, Politics Today. According to him, the economic management team has been assessing the possible impact of the crisis on Nigeria's economic stability. He notes that despite the risks, government is confident that Nigeria's economy remains resilient, adding that policy options are being reviewed to protect households and maintain macroeconomic stability.
We need to grow the economy. In order to grow the economy, we need funding. On the government side, yes, there is a role for the government to play. Critical infrastructure funding, the so-called pillars for investment. And in order to do that, we need to boost revenue. So we really need to use automation, digitization, even AI and other technology to increase government revenue. And he's clearly an expert in the tax and the fiscal area. That's his training, that's his background. And that's his most recent task that government has given him. So that's on the one hand. But the key to having removed major distortions, which President Tinubu has bravely and courageously done, remove the major distortions, put in place market pricing of foreign exchange, market pricing of petroleum products, stabilize the economy, brought down inflation, as you know, from 34% to 15%, and obviously built up reserves and so forth. The next step, and it must come quickly and at scale, is to have investment that increases productivity, grows the economy, creates jobs, and gives people income that reduces poverty. And I must emphasize that the whole point of the President Tinubu Renewed Hope agenda and action plan is to reduce poverty in the land. Nothing short of that.
Meanwhile, the federal government is assuring Nigerians that members of the armed forces are working tirelessly to ensure that the country is safe despite the negative narratives on different social media platforms. Speaking in Abuja at a meeting with service chiefs, Minister of Defense General Christopher Musa says there are a lot of falsehoods about the armed forces, but they are putting in every effort to secure Nigeria. General Musa admits that although the armed forces have suffered some casualties, the terrorists and the bandits have suffered more as the armed forces continue to neutralize their commanders. He, however, appealed to Nigerians for their support of the armed forces at all times.
This morning we had a quick short meeting with members of the services to review our strategy in all our theaters within the country. We're all aware of the issues on ground, but want to assure Nigerians that members of the armed forces are working tirelessly in ensuring that Nigeria is safe and secured. Whatever any information anybody will give, please let them clarify with members of the armed forces. We know because of the issue of social welfare, social media, there are a lot of falsehoods being spread out. The armed forces is on top of its game. We are putting in every effort to ensure that we secure the country. We are aware that we have suffered some casualties, but I can tell you the terrorists, the bandits are taking more. We're taking more commanders out. We're taking more of their assets out, and we'll continue to do that. We want to appeal to Nigerians not to give in. Nigerians to continue to support members of the armed forces. We must work together. This challenge is a Nigerian challenge. It's not only the armed forces challenge. Other security agencies are also working in synergy with us. We want to congratulate the new IGP of police for coming on stream. Assure him of our openness in working, and we want him to really key in as quickly as possible so that we can continue to contain the situation.
In part two, after the break, Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Patti, says Nigeria's health sector reforms under the sector-wide approach are showing promise, describing the progress so far as unprecedented. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you have just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. PDP Board of Trustees, led by Adolphus Wabara, rejects court ruling nullifying 2025 convention, while FCT Minister Nyesom Wike says the Mao Onwabua-led BOT is open to reconciliation after agreed terms. House of Representatives amends Electoral Act 2026, criminalizing dual political party membership and imposing a 10 million naira fine, a 2-year prison term, or both for violators. Senate confirms Professor Taiwo Oyedele as Minister of State for Finance under President Bola Tinubu, replacing Mrs. Doris Uzoka-Nite as he assumes responsibilities in the federal cabinet. And Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Pate, says Nigeria's health sector reforms under the sector-wide approach are showing promise, describing the progress so far as unprecedented. The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Pate, says Nigeria's health sector reforms under the sector-wide approach are now beginning to show promise, describing the progress so far as unprecedented. While speaking at the 2026 Health Development Partners Retreat held in Abuja, the minister noted that the initiative is strengthening coordination across federal, state, and local governments while aligning development partners behind nationally led health priorities. The retreat, themed From Commitments to Impact, Partnerships that Deliver, brought together government officials and international development partners to review progress and strengthen collaboration toward improving Nigeria's health system. Professor Pate explained that the reforms aim to reduce fragmentation in the sector and ensure better coordination of resources and programs. He said joint reviews, performance dialogues with states, and coordinated planning efforts have helped drive progress over the past 2.5 years.
When I listen to what you are trying to do in this retreat, first in the immediacy, 2026, the work plan, how do you come and rally around for us to achieve what has been laid out? I think that's the way, that's a behavior that in a way manifests the reality of the sector-wide program, because now we're all working together. We all realize that if Nigeria fails, all of us fail. It's not only federal government, states, it's also the partners, and all your investments also will be going down the tubes. So we must succeed. And so this is a very important piece of work that we are doing. But it's natural if a system has been defragmented for many, many, many years. You can't have a magic wand overnight to change everything and then everything becomes perfectly okay. So I'm listening carefully to the challenges that you have articulated. I think it's work in progress, and we have to continue to work towards improving those pain points as we identify them. It's a complex system. You fix one, some other part undoes. So the misalignment issue, I think we are better aligned, but we may not be fully aligned.
Now let's head to the nation's capital, and Victoria Longjohn is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Over to you, Victoria.
Thank you, Ayo. FCT Minister Nyesom Wike has pledged to work with the chairman of Gwagwalada Area Council to provide infrastructure to the area. He was speaking during his thank you visit. Mr. Wike said politics is an agreement and the people should be able to feel the impact of governance. Meanwhile, a mild drama ensued during the event when residents prevented the incumbent council chairman from delivering his speech. Our correspondent Kumbi Aboluwade reports.
It's the final day of the FCT Minister's thank you visit across all area councils in the FCT.
This is our first time of seeing a kind
Unlike the others, this visit to Gwagwalada Area Council took a rather different turn when the incumbent chairman of Gwagwalada, Mr. Abubakar Juri, was pulled off the stage while delivering his speech. The demonstration, which lasted several minutes, was allegedly as a result of reported claims of his interference during the FCT election.
And whether you like it or not, Abu Jiri is our executive chairman. Whether you like it or not, he's our brother.
After tensions were doused, the newly elected chairman makes a request.
People of Gwagwalada West, that we need the very people to be given a third-class seat in Gwagwalada. Zuba, Anagada Tungamaja people buy water from water vendor, a truck at the rate of 2,005. There are some families that use 3 or 4 trucks a day. On the course of our campaign, this has been the outcry.
The FCT Minister, while receiving shares from the residents, approves his request and expressed his gratitude for the large turnout of residents for his visit.
To be frank, all the things you have mentioned cannot be solved at the same time. So choose the one that you think is most very, very important to the people. But let me say, the one I will do now is I'm making sure I approve the chieftaincy of Toklas to Bahari people. I talked about water. I felt so bad that you don't have water in Zuba. What I will tell you, that is considered it done.
He also makes a comment on the earlier demonstration by the residents.
This is the best of all the visits I have gone. The chairman was trying to apologize. There's nothing to apologize. This is politics. So don't expect such a crime and you say everything will just go normal. No. There must be some small,
Out of the 6 area councils in the FCT, Gwagwalada is the only area council that elected a candidate from the People's Democratic Party. From the nation's capital, Kumbi Aboluade, Channels Television News.
And it's all about strengthening bilateral relations. The distance between Lagos and Mexico is getting bridged as both regional giants strike a new partnership following the inauguration of the Honorary Consulate of Mexico in Nigeria's commercial capital. The event attracted the Lagos State government, members of the diplomatic corps and the international business communities, who all felicitated with the newly appointed Honorary Consul Abiodun Otunola.
The atmosphere at this gathering carries a distinct flavor. It is one between Lagos State and Mexico. From high-ranking members of the diplomatic corps to the upper echelon of the Lagos State government, the room attests to the weight of the occasion.
The establishment of this new honorary consulate will contribute to promoting economic ties, facilitating business contacts, supporting cultural and educational exchange, and aiding Mexican citizens who may be present in this region. It will also serve as an important platform for bringing our societies closer together.
At the heart of this new chapter is the appointment of Abiodun Otunola as Honorary Consul. His mission is to serve as the primary architect for new bridges in business, tourism, and cultural exchange.
There's so much business that we can do between Mexico and Lagos, from construction to agriculture to power. Hydropower, they are very, very big in hydropower. Also, industries and manufacturing. I'm particularly interested in manufacturing. When I see GDP graded, I'm always very happy. 1.8 trillion to Lagos of less than 200 billion. That's so much gap. And I want to assure you and promise you that in the next 5-10 years, you hear from us and you are going to see a big milestone.
The Lagos State government is not just a spectator. They're an active partner. And representing the governor is the secretary to the state government, who delivers a message of synergy and readiness to welcome Mexican innovation with open arms.
Mexican businesses and investors will find in Lagos a resilient market, a vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem, and a government that remains committed to fostering a business-friendly environment. Honorary Consulate of Mexico in Lagos.
With inauguration done and the doors open, the focus shifts from ceremony to the real deal.
You give me an assignment to market a country that is 1.8 trillion economy and 12th biggest economy in the world. It's a big job for me to do. So I have a lot of opportunity to open up Mexico
to Lagos and Lagos to Mexico.
There's so much we'll do together with Mexico. Don't forget again, they look like Lagosians somehow. Didn't you see them today? So we have a lot to do together.
Ordinary people. As the evening winds down, a new day is born for a Nigeria-Mexico relationship that should be mutually beneficial to both regions.
Now, still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria dropping to 1.71 trillion naira from 3.42 trillion recorded in the same quarter of 2024. And that's on Business News. Join us again. Welcome back and watching News at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television. Anambra State Governor Professor Chukwuma Soludo has praised teachers and students in 10 schools in Isuofia, Agwata local government area for complying with the state directive to resume academic activities on Mondays. During an unscheduled visit on March 9, the governor toured several schools to assess compliance and reassure the school community of government's commitments to their safety and uninterrupted learning.
Anambra State Governor Professor Chukwuma Soludo takes to the streets of Isuofia, conducting surprise inspections to ensure schools are back in session. Visiting a mix of public and private institutions, the governor praises the high turnout of teachers and students reclaiming their Mondays. Beyond the classroom check-in, the governor also challenges school authorities to step up their game in infrastructure development. Governor Soludo stops at the Central School, Isuofia, as well as the Isuofia Primary School, where the excited pupils sing a beautiful song for him, describing him as the light. The halls of Holy Child Comprehensive School buzzes as Governor Soludo meets with a CS the sit-at-home era over, urging the students to channel that same resilience into their studies to become the professionals of tomorrow.
Thankfully, our Mondays are back, and our children will now go back to school Monday to Friday. You must be developed in all ramifications. Grow spiritually and morally. You'll have to grow physically. I'm sure you do your sports and so on and so forth. You must grow intellectually and then also socially. Those four components make you a complete person.
It was a warm welcome to Comprehensive Secondary School, one of those recently upgraded to a smart school. Students greeted the governor with dancing and placards celebrating his administration's impact. The tour, which includes stops at his adopted school, Amoji Primary School and Model Primary Schools, is met with anthems of gratitude, marking a vibrant end to the governor's inspection.
Students enthusiastic and happy to be back after 5 years of not going to school on Mondays. And this completes the circuit of ending Monday sit at home. The schools are back, the businesses are back, markets are back, public servants are back, and therefore the state is fully back.
The inspection sent a clear message. Anambra's academic calendar is back in full swing. By personally monitoring these schools, Governor Soludo is drawing a line in the sand against sit-at-home disruptions. It's a bold move to ensure that for the children of Anambra State, a stable, secure, and uninterrupted education calendar is no longer a request, it's a guarantee.
And that's it from Abuja. It's now over to Dominic Iwiwu for Business News.
Thank you, Victoria. And on Business News, Nigeria's merchandise trade surplus narrowed sharply in the fourth quarter of 2025, falling to 1.71 trillion naira from 3.42 trillion naira recorded in the same period of 2024. New data released by the National Bureau of Statistics shows the country maintained a positive trade balance during the quarter, but the surplus weakened significantly as crude oil exports declined and imports increased. Overall drop year-on-year. Despite the decline, Nigeria maintained a positive trade balance supported by non-oil exports such as agricultural products and solid minerals, though these sectors still contribute a smaller portion of total export earnings. Nigeria spent about $5.21 billion servicing its external debt in 2025, highlighting the growing pressure of the debt repayments on the country's foreign financial obligations. Data from the Central Bank of Nigeria showed that debt service payments accounted for 72.11% of Nigeria's total international payments during the year, up from 62.58% recorded in 2024. Overall, international payments declined slightly to $7.22 billion in 2025 compared with $7.44 billion in 2024, but the share devoted to debt servicing increased significantly. Monthly data showed that external debt payments were uneven throughout the year. The highest repayments occurred in November 2025 when the country paid about $1.31 billion, accounting for almost the entire $1.49 billion in international payments for that month. And the domestic equities market closes in the red for a second straight day, with the all-share index down 0.09%. Willie Bong tells us more.
Thank you, Dominic. The market sustained negative sentiment for a second straight day. Let's jump right in and see the closing numbers for today. So the all-share index closed lower at 0.09%, back at 195,000 level. And see the market cap also at 125 trillion naira. We definitely can trace this low performance to Presco. Presco lost 231 naira 50 kobo. That's 10% down. The stock price opened at 200,315 naira 40 kobo, but after that decline closed at 2,083 naira 90 kobo. And of course, it's a zero-sum game in the market. We see NGX Group, and that added nearly 17 naira to its share price. 10% up as well. And we see the sectors in a rebound today. Banking index, we see it up today 0.04%. Profit taking, we see sustained in a Turner. That dropped the oil and gas counter. Now we see 0.06%. And those are the highlights. Will Ibon signing out.
Thank you, Will. Let's see the snapshot performance for other major equities. And that's it on business news. Back to Ayotunde for the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Dominic. Well, let's bring you up to speed back on our earlier story. The People's Democratic Party's Board of Trustees, the BOT, led by the former President of the Senate, Adolphus Wabara, has rejected the appeal court judgment that invalidated the Ibadan Convention. Meanwhile, FCT Minister, Mr. Nyesom Wike, has given conditions to reconcile with the Turaki-led group of the party. Here's the report.
This expanded meeting of the PDP Board of Trustees, led by Adolphus Wabara, is a continuation of the previous meeting to take a decision on the recent Courts of Appeal judgment. The meeting hopes to explore options available for them, including a decision of the next step for the judgment.
The BOT disagrees with the judgment of the Court of Appeal, which pronounced an invalidation of the November 15th to 16th, 2025 National Convention that produced the Kabiru Tanimu Turaki-led National Working Committee of our party. The BOT is awaiting the advice of our lawyers on the way forward in this regard.
After about 3 hours of deliberations, the meeting arrives at some resolutions.
The board is resolved to take immediate steps to reconcile all stakeholders, put an end to all disputes, and restore the party to good political health, particularly to enable the PDP field candidates in the 2027 general elections. The BOT constitutes a special committee to immediately interface with the legal teams and any other stakeholders to foster reconciliation within the party.
In a related development, the Abdurrahman Mohammed-led caretaker committee also held a meeting with members of their board of trustees. The meeting is an expanded National Executive Council meeting. Matters including state of the party.
Board of Trustees consider preparations towards the forthcoming National Convention of our party. The board reiterates its support for the successful conduct of the convention and calls on all stakeholders to work together to ensure that the process strengthens the unity, stability, and organizational capacity of our party.
I wish to heartily congratulate members of the PDP across the country for the recent judicial victories recorded at the both Federal High Court and the Court of Appeal. We therefore wish to use this opportunity to inform our esteemed members across the Federation and indeed the general public that the claim that the court upheld the suspension of our acting National Secretary is completely false, misleading, and a deliberate attempt to create confusion within our party.
The FCT Minister gives the conditions for any reconciliation in the party.
For me, it's reconciliation. Was sincere reconciliation. Why they are coming for reconciliation, how would that proposal? On how the reconciliation would be. Come, we will receive you. When it's there, how we are going to do it. So that number come and tell me, oh, you know, there's someone that I have to accept the job with that. Convention must hold.
The PDP is hoping to resolve the leadership crisis to put the party in good stead for the 2027 general elections.
Still to come on the news at 10, the 32 International Energy Agency members, including the US and UK, agree to their largest ever release of 400 million oil barrels to stabilize global markets. Please join us again. Welcome back. Ahead of Nigerian President Bola Tinubu's upcoming state visit to the United Kingdom, King Charles III has hosted members of the Nigerian diaspora at St. James's Palace in London. The reception brought together business leaders, creatives, and community figures to celebrate the growing influence of Nigerians living and working in Britain, while also highlighting cultural and economic ties between the two countries. The event comes just days before President Tinubu and First Lady Oluremi arrive in the UK for the historic state visit, where they will be hosted by King Charles and Queen Camilla at Windsor Castle. The channel's television was among the international media invited to cover the reception. Well, Simon Pusey now gives us the rest of the international news and around the world in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The 32 members of the International Energy Agency have agreed to their largest ever release of oil reserves in an effort to calm the markets. The IEA, which includes the UK and the US, will release 400 million barrels. The move comes after 3 commercial ships were damaged by unknown projectiles in the Strait of Hormuz. Earlier, the US military said it had eliminated 16 Iranian mine-laying ships in the area. In Dubai, 4 people were injured when 2 drones fell near Dubai Airport. It's the second drone attack in the area in recent days. The person in charge of the US operation says they are on track to complete their objectives.
Let me start by offering my overall assessment of Operation Epic Fury. In short, U.S. forces continue delivering devastating combat power against the Iranian regime. I've said this before, but it bears repeating. U.S. combat power is building, Iranian combat power is declining. And we remain centered on very clear military objectives in eliminating Iran's ability to project power against Americans and against its neighbors. Every day, we're striking hard at Iranian ballistic missile and drones. To date, we have struck more than 5,500 targets inside Iran, including more than 60 ships using a variety of precision weapon systems. Just yesterday, we had strike waves nearly every hour from different locations and directions going into Iran. We also took out the last of 4 Soleimani-class warships. That's an entire class of Iranian ships now out of the fight.
The European Union and the United Kingdom have demanded that Israel halt a surge in violence by Jewish settlers against Palestinians in the Israeli-occupied West Bank that has taken place since the start of the country's war with Iran. 6 Palestinians have been killed during the attacks by settlers across the West Bank over the past 11 days, according to the United Nations. The UK said it was appalled by the killings, while the EU said the level of settler violence was unacceptable. Both urged Israeli authorities to take action to ensure accountability and prevent further attacks. Volodymyr Zelensky has said Ukrainian forces have struck one of Russia's most important military factories. The plant produces electronics and components for Russian missiles. Russian local authorities say that at least 6 civilians were killed and 42 injured from what it called a terrorist missile attack. Russia has been making slow advances in the battlefield, but Ukraine also says it is reclaiming more land seized by the Russians. Zelensky says another round of talks involving Russian and American negotiators may be held this week. A French national working for the UN in the Democratic Republic of Congo has been killed, according to the French president, following reports of a drone strike on the eastern city of Goma. 2 other people were killed in the attack, but their identities have not been made public. Witnesses say drones hit Lake Kivu and a 2-story residential building frequently occupied by expatriates and aid workers. UNICEF said it was devastated and outraged by her death and described the lady as a dedicated humanitarian who worked tirelessly to support children and families affected by conflict and crisis. The M23 rebels took control of Goma, the capital of North Kivu province near the border with Rwanda, earlier this year. An unexploded British World War II bomb in Dresden has been defused, according to police in Germany. Much of the centre of the city was evacuated after the 250-kilogram device was discovered near the former Karola Bridge, which collapsed in the Elbe River in 2024. Specialists from the Explosive Ordnance Disposal Service removed the detonator from the bomb and then blew it up. The fire brigade in Dresden said it was the city's largest evacuation to date, affecting around 18,000 residents, tourists and commuters.
Oh my God.
And severe weather is battering the United States, including this tornado in Illinois. In Kankakee, around 60 miles south of Chicago, emergency crews are still assessing the damage. The event was part of a string of severe weather that stretched from Texas to Michigan, causing the deaths of 2 people in Indiana. According to the National Weather Service, the severe storms brought rain, hail, damaging winds, and intense tornadoes. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Nigeria's D Tigers have delivered a dominant performance in their opening game of the FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup qualifying tournament in Lyon, France. The Nigerian players completely annihilated Colombia 70-37 to seize early control and never looked back. And Nigeria Women's Football League Premiership returns after the mid-season break with Edo Queens thumping champions Bayelsa Queens 4-1. In other Group A results, Ibom Angels defeated Niger Rattle 3-1. Pacesetter Queens got their first win of the season with a 2-0 win over Adamawa Queens, while Ekiti Queens registered same scoreline against Heartland Queens. And in the UEFA Champions League, Kai Havertz scored a late penalty to snatch Arsenal 1-1 draw in the first leg of their last 16 tie at Bayern Leverkusen. Robert Andrich headed Leverkusen ahead right after half-time, but Kai Havertz came off the bench to equalize against his former club in the 89th minute after a foul on Noni Madueke. In other results, Federico Valverde's first-half hat-trick gave Real Madrid 3-0 win over Manchester City. PSG rout Chelsea 5-2, while Bodo Glimt spanked Sporting Lisbon 3-0. That sports is back to you, Ayo.
And the main news again. The PDP Board of Trustees, led by Adolphus Wabara, have rejected the court ruling nullifying the 2025 convention, while FCT Minister Nyesom Wike said the Mao Onwabwa-led BOT is open to reconciliation after agreed terms. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. Do have a good night.
For me, a learning curve in the sense of discovery, but it was something that from the outset we were really keen to make something that could work on a global stage.
Let me stay with you, Chi. What part of the movie was the most difficult to shoot? You had a lot of exterior scenes and even some on the lagoon. I remember that scene on the boat as well. How cooperative were passerbys from the behind-the-scene clips that you shared?